Good morning, Vietnam. Good morning, Ting Ting. Warm welcome to this training on health safety organized by me, Koen Corneli. I will add, because you have a training course on digital transformation, so I added as well a little bit, not only on health and safety, but as well on cybersecurity. So I added so we go smoothly from well-being and safety at work towards digital transition. And nowadays we cannot forget the importance of cyber resilience as well. So I added at the end of the training course as well a part on cyber security. Because I think, and because of my background as well, I think it's important to think about that as well. So I added that as an extra for you. If you have questions, please bundle them until the end of the training course, so it will be easier. But I don't have any problem with questions. So feel free to ask questions. Feel free to. I will be there to answer all the possible questions you can imagine. So, as I said, my name is Koen Corneli. I already met people of VIMC in Vietnam. I will be there as well the first week of October for another project. So I will be hanging around in Ho Chi Minh for a couple of days as well. A little bit background. I started my career almost 30 years ago in the travel business. From the travel business, I went to PSA. Container terminals. So container terminals as well, a very heavy equipment environment, a lot of equipment running around on terminals. So it's very important to handle containers and work with people in all safety. After PSA, I moved to the Port of Antwerp, where I am now responsible for the Indian subcontinent, as I already explained to you on Monday morning, a little bit more in detail. Excuse me. So let's start. I will talk about well-being at work, parties involved, improvement health at work, as well risk analysis I will go through, and then I will go over to cyber security as well. If we look to well-being at work, I think an environment where you spend a lot of time, 8 hours, 9 hours a day. You meet people, you meet friends, you become more and more a family. So what it's all about, what's the first thing if you think, or what do you think about when you hear what is well-being at work? So safety at work, one thing, what's important, you want to work in a safe environment. There are still worldwide, while traveling to container terminals, ports, environments, and so on, I still see management who are not taking into account too much safety at work. They see people as a sort of resource on the terminal or in the work environment. So sometimes it's a pity because you're handling people, you're working with resources, human resources. So for me, it's very important if you talk about well-being at work, that you can work in a safe environment to protect as well the workers' health, people who are bringing money in into the company. So it's as well important to protect them. Very good. It has to do with the psychological aspects of work. If you need to work in an unsafe environment, it will automatically lead to stress factors, and so on. Ergonomics, if you talk about the work environment where you physically are working in, ergonomics is as well a very important part of well-being at work. So when working at the desk, for example, yeah.
So could you please stop for the while? So we will wait for another person. We try to this the training course, please, for 5 minutes. There are problem with the internet, so we should fix the technical for 5 minutes. Then we
Okay.
will come back later.
You just ring a bell when I need to proceed with my PowerPoint. Okay.
Miss Ting Ting. Yeah.
Yes.
Uh, l- so please check again. Some of the people cannot accept in the this video of this teamwork. So please check again.
The team meeting link. They
Yeah.
can't join the link in the link. Do you have
Maybe you
any
can,
other? Yeah.
Ting Ting, maybe you can share the link again via mail, or do you have a WhatsApp group?
Yes, but there's not so many people who are joining the group.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe they don't use WhatsApp. That's also a possibility. But
Hmm.
share the link again via mail.
Yeah, I will invite all the people. Okay, just send the Teams meeting to them. So please
WhatsApp.
ask them to check.
You send
I
to the
just
WhatsApp.
send the no, not the WhatsApp. Send through the email, through the
Ah,
meetings. Yes, through the Outlook.
Outlook.
And
Okay.
in
They should.
Outlook,
Yeah.
yeah, in Outlook as well. If you get the invitation, please do accept the invitation, so we can as well call you via the Teams link when you are not joining the meeting. So please do accept all the online meetings so we can have an overview who will be joining as well. So that's also important. Um, okay,
Okay.
okay. People joining.
Okay. They are going. Please. Thank you so much.
I can go. I can proceed. Okay, thank you. So let me see. Where was I here? Yeah. Excuse me. Uh. As I was saying, safety at work, protection of workers' health, psychological aspects of work, ergonomics, the way how your office is designed, the way how you need to work. Sometimes in a difficult situation, ergonomics can be very important to do your job in a safe way. Hygiene at work as well. You want to work in a clean environment. You want to work in a proper environment, nice toilets, clean kitchens, for example, where you can eat at lunch. And then for sure as well, the design of the workplaces as well is very important. If you are working in an office and the design of the office or workplace is not done in a logical or efficient way, it can cause problems as well. And then the environment, you don't want to work in a noisy, dusty, polluting environment. So environmental challenges can be as well a problem to cope well-being at work. Why? So why is well-being at work important for us? It's to protect your employees. Employees are resources. They are working for your company. So important is that the management, the high-level management, as well carries um, the way how we can create a safe and a well-being work environment for your employees. So protecting your employees, that's why we are working on safety, well-being, health, and security as well. Why? Four reasons for well-being at work: social, family. Uh, um, we always say, if you enter a container terminal at the Antwerp or Bruges environment, you need to enter a safe environment. Because people who are working on the terminal have a lot of family, kids, friends. So social family well-being is very important. A father who is working on a container terminal, for example, is responsible um, to feed his child, to be there when they go to school, to take responsibility for their life as well. So social and family, for me, it's one of the most important factors. Why do you need to work on well-being at work? Because yeah, the social factor, but as well the responsibility people have against their friends, family, and so on. I always try here in Africa. I'm working in Africa for the moment. If you need to motivate people to work in a safe environment, you need to work on their emotions. And how can you work on emotions is to talk about social and family. Yeah? If I see people working, running around in a port environment, and they are working in a not very safe way, I always try to say to them, if something happens and you can go home to your home at night, I ask always, are you married? Do you have children? So if you don't work in a safe environment, or if you don't take the safety rules into account, you can have an incident, you can get injured, and in the baddest way, you can die because of an accident. And then I try to, yeah, pressure a little bit more on the social family to motivate that they need to work in a safe environment and that they need to work on a safe way as well. On the other hand, when you're talking about social and family, in bureaucratic environments, sometimes people are working in an unsafe environment, but they don't dare to say to their higher management that they work in bad conditions, unsafe conditions, because they are afraid of their job. So that's also a thing that you need to break down. Um, People who are working for you as a resource on a terminal or in a port environment needs to be able to inform management, higher level management, that they are working in an unsafe environment. So you need to create a social environment as well, whereby people can inform their managers, can inform their supervisors, for example, that a near miss accident happened and that they can say, yeah, the way we are working right now, it's an unsafe way and we want to do it on another way. Financial reasons, that's also important. If incidents happens, it has as well financial consequences, not only for the company itself, but as well for the people. Imagine you get injured, you can't do your work anymore. So it has as well a financial aspect for the people, for the resource working on the terminal itself as well. So financial reasons as well important. And then legal. Um, we are now working as an authority here in Port Autonome de Cotonou. It's a port in Benin, the west side of Africa, next to Nigeria. Legal rules and regulations as well are very important. You have unions, for example, who are looking at us, that we are working or that we offer work environments for our laborers working in the port environment on a safe way. And on the choice related to the organization, um, that's a difficult one, because spreading the word on health, safety, security, and so on needs to be uh, driven by the management of the organization. So the choice hello. Yeah. So the choice related to the organization needs to be buried by the management as well. And they need to spread the word. They need to be responsible for explaining the word that well-being, safety, security at work is important. If your management or your supervisors lacks on that, yeah, then it will be difficult to um, particular situation, then it will be difficult to work sometimes in a safe environment. If your manager says, okay, you need to do that, you need to do that, and it doesn't take into account uh, well-being, safety rules, security rules, yeah, then it will be difficult sometimes. So that's why, as I mentioned in point one, an open communication and the word carried by the management is so important. And so well-being at work. Socially, had consequences, as I said, for your family and social life, impact on the society as well. Do you know any examples? Unfortunately, we all know examples of impacts of accidents and incidents, so that can work on your social environment, and it can bring you stress and sadness as well. Financial, as I said, direct financial costs, medical fees, insurance premiums, replacement of equipment, and indirect cost, replacement of persons, overload of work on other employees, external investigations can happen, and the reputation of the port/terminal as well, an important one. Social media these days are quite open. A lot of people use social media like X, like other platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, name it. So if people knows that your environment or your company is not taking into account that much security and safety rules, yeah, they can easily spread the word via platforms and things like that to bring damage to the imago of your company as well. So it's also very important that companies and port authorities and port environment work as well on that reputation part of the environment, that people don't have the chance to bring bad words on social media. So internal communication, but as well external communication is very important. While working as a port authority or an organization who is covering several companies, several organizations, unions, for example, it's very important to be clear and open in the communication, not only internally in the port environment, but as well to your community, that you explain why an accident happened and which things you took into account to avoid incidents, near misses, and accidents as well in the future. And legal, you have the International Labour Organization under the UN, who derives or who describes international labor standards, but they can come audit you as well. So important as well. And then the regional and local law. We in Europe, we have the European labor law, who's covering the whole of Europe. And we need to follow that labor law. If, for example, we want to put more pressure or more stress on our own labor law, then we can add some extras. We cannot lower the extras. So we need to follow the European labor law. And if Belgium wants to or decides to add some specifications to make it even more safe or secure, then we can do it. So we have the European law, the Belgian law, and then you can have regionally as well Flemish work regulations, for example. Here I'm working in Benin, West Africa, and they are following the French rules or the French law, and it's the same law as the European law, but based on French standards. Okay. Then choices related to the organization, as I said, create a vision. So how do you work on safety, well-being for workers in your environment? Create a vision to move forward together. So that's important, together. Commitment to work, invest in training and manage skills. And so if you see what we are doing in Antwerp, every docker who is working in a port environment in Antwerp needs to go on a training in our organization. And I don't know whether they are going to visit OHA as well. But OHA is an organization under They will do it. Oh, nice.
Yes, they
So
will do
OCHA
it.
is a nice example of how do we train yeah, dockers in our port environment. We explain them the safety rules. We explain them as well the dangers of working in a quite heavy equipment environment and so on. So training and manage skills of your people is as well very important. Learn from incidents that happened, near misses that happened as well. So that's also very important. And a mobilization of emotions and a positive story as well. Try to bring the word on safety, as I explained on the social way. Bring an emotion. With emotions, you can touch people. By writing down rules on a wall, yeah, nobody will. Read those rules. So try to visualize, try to work on emotions of people and bring a positive story as well. That's important to work on safety, health, and so on. Okay. Parties involved. If you look to the organizations, you have let's say the low level. Not that I want to mean that they are low, but so in the hierarchical organization, and you have the worker, you have the management, and you have the boss or the employer who is involved by setting up well-being at work. And on a management or on the company level, you have setting up. Under that management level, the employer, we have the executors, the ones who need to bring and execute and implement the safety rules, health, and so on. And then the worker is on the collaborating level. So they need to work every day in the environment and they need to ensure that they can work in a safe environment, but as well explain that to other ones. On the highest level, if you go to the right side, the responsibilities, inquiry and proposals, that's more on the mid level, and the lower level, as I said, they need to ensure, they need to bring the word, they need to inform as well when things going wrong or things can go wrong. They need to inform the higher management. Role, the role of a health and safety department at work, so it's an assistance to the employer, line manager, and worker. Worker or employees, trainees, temporary workers, volunteers, and so on. They do as well the advising in the context of well-being at work, and they do the administrative tasks. A health and safety department, let's say it's more a motivating role that they play. They need to assist the employer. They can motivate why safety and health is important, and they can create the context. Under a health and safety department, you need to create the boundaries whereby you are going to define the environment where health, safety, security rules will be applied. That's a little bit a more difficult one because you need to define, okay, in which boundaries our responsibility will be carried out. So here in the Port Authority or in the Port of Cotonou, we work in the same model as Port of Antwerp. So we are a port authority. We are doing nothing with cargo. We just provide an environment. We provide services for the port environment, like tugging, like assistance, and so on. But we are not an operator on a concession. And so important is that when PSA, for example, comes to your environment, PSA will be responsible for that concessioned area. Our role as a port authority is not to see whether they implement ISO 45001 or something like that. The role of a port environment or port authority is more like to be the good father or good mother rules are applied on that concession. The concessionaire itself means that they are responsible for the health and well-being at their concession as well. Depends, of course, if in the concession contract rules are stipulated that the Port Authority will help and will be responsible, yeah, then it's another thing. But normally in a port or in the setup of a Port Authority as we are working, we are responsible to apply health, safety, well-being on the non-concessioned areas and the areas under our responsibility. Okay, so that's a little bit a difficult one to find out where are the boundaries or your health, safety, security management system. And where do you need to apply safety, security, and well-being rules as well? So the health safety department, security health safety department, they need to assist, they need to inform, they need to motivate. And it's just the same as an environmental department. So they need to assist, they need to inform, and they need to motivate good jobs at work. So they need to work on prevention. They need to work on health and safety as a service. They need to create, for example, a global prevention plan, annual action plan, safety procedures, prevention policies document, accident declaration, accident analysis. And so that's a little bit the responsibility. They need to be responsible together with the operational people to work out a work equipment inventory, first aid registration, having toolings, for example, to do registration of incidents, near misses, and so on. Meeting the document of the Prevention and Protection at Work Committee, commissioning reports, all the documentation, whether you use a system like ISO 45001 or not, but they need to document their management system and they need to report as well via statistics and reporting to the management. Why it's important? Because normally in a health and safety management system, based on the ISO 45001. The ISO 45001 is a tool you can use to implement a health and safety environment. If you follow that tool, there are specific steps in the planning that you need to do. So you need to have once a year a reunion with the whole management. And there you can, for example, explain the annual report as well. How do we improve health at work and how do we can work at well-being at work on that way? So there is a difference on health and safety, but different often seen as the same. Safety is about preventing short-term effects and health is about preventing long-term effects. Mostly it's combined in one department, health and safety departments. Here in Cotonou, we even work with the environmental department, the quality department, the security department. So we try to have one organization within our organizations who is covering or dealing with all the ISO standards from 9001 to 14001 for environmental, 27,001 for cybersecurity matters, and 45,001 for health and safety. As I said, I'm here for the more for the IT matters, so I'm helping the IT department to implement a safe and a secure IT environment as well. So I'm working on the 27,001 here as well, together with the IT department. And we try to have one integrated management system for all the ISO standards, so the 9001, the 14001, 45 and 27,001. Why do we do that? While organizing a department on health and safety, on quality, for example, on environment, if you separate these departments, you will see that they will start working on different ways, different reporting tools, different databases, and so on. And that's why we have chosen to bring all those norms together by the 40,001, the 45,001, excuse me, 27,001, 14,001, 9,001, to have one common system, one base, the one database where we keep all our records, uniform inspection files, uniform procedures, and so on. That's the advantage, more clarity, more transparency, more uniformity for that system, but as well dealing with reporting, we can now use our data on that common system to be able to report on a more practical and efficient way as well. If we talk about safety and health, safety examples, falling or tripping due obstacles, slippery, uneven floors, for example, getting trapped, splashing of hazardous substances in the eye or in the face. Health examples, and mostly health examples are, or health issues are more on a long term. When you're working in an environment where they use asbestos, yeah, in the beginning you won't see or you won't have any issues with that. But on long term, asbestos, yeah, can injure your lungs and can lead to cancer. Asbestos, for example, we had main issues in Belgium as well with a company called Eternit, who was using asbestos in roof plates and so on, and as well other companies use it in brakes for the cars, for example, because asbestos can stand a lot of heat as well. Then overloading the body through frequent excessive lifting, for example, if ergonomics are not good and you need to do heavy job, that can injure your body as well on long term. Side example, I worked when I was a student, I worked a lot in bars, restaurants, clubs, and so on to earn a little bit money, expenses during my student time. And I worked the last couple of years in a nightclub where the music was quite heavy. So that's also a stress factor, but as well, it's not good for your ears. So people who are working in a very noisy environment, for example, in the beginning they will not feel that, but after a couple of years, you will see the damage that has been done by the noise. And then in the office, for example, working in an incorrect posture causing neck, arm, and shoulder complaints can be possible. Improving health at work, approach improving health for employees at work. You need to define your objectives. You need to analyze them. You need to plan. A difficult thing is with health, with security, with well-being, is that it take time to see sometimes. So you need to convince, and it's always not a difficult thing, but you need to convince your management that as well doing or working on improving health at work and so on, that the things you implement, for example, this year, will not have an effect directly, can be, but mostly it will have an effect next year or even more in the future. So the impact of the investment a health, safety, environment, quality department is doing, sometimes it takes a little bit time to see the impact of it, and it's normal. And that's why sometimes it's for these departments, and luckily the world is changing, so they see as well that we need to work on health, safety, environment. But sometimes it's difficult to motivate. Why do you invest in equipment to protect your people working on a floor, for example? Because you don't see directly the impact of the tools and things you are doing to improve health and safety and well-being. So that's one important thing to do for a health safety department is to motivate and to explain good why. What do we want to achieve? A longer, more productive and more exciting work life. So that's an objective. To measure is to know. In Flemish or in Dutch, it's meten is weten. And to measure is to know. It's important that you measure employee health, for example, the age structure of your company. Why people are not coming to work because of health reasons, stress, burnouts, bored outs even. You can have staff turnover can as well be a KPI that you can calculate or monitor. If your staff turnover is too high, yeah, that can be a reason why you need to work on health and well-being on your work environment. The needs, the opportunities as well. So you need to measure those KPIs as well to see what's happening within your company and then try to understand why things happening. That's also. Then, if you know, if you measure specific KPIs and you see the results of the KPIs and you see strange things, yeah, then you need to create an action plan with a clear vision, concrete actions. What do you want to do to improve health and well-being at your work floor? It needs to be measurable. That's one of the main standards why using KPI, key performance indicators. It needs to be measurable. Otherwise, you cannot say, okay, statistic-wise, I measured now this KPI, and you can compare it with the KPIs of last year's or the KPIs you want to achieve. So it needs to be measurable. It needs to be sustainable as well. So it needs to at least a long time during the future or within the future. It needs to be sustainable and it needs to work on behavioral change as well. Excuse me. So it's a joint action. Excuse me. It's a joint action plan, worker, employer. So that's very important, and you need to create a culture whereby worker, employer are working on the same way. How do you do that? The impact, inform people, motivate and stimulate them that they need to work in a safe and health environment as well. You need to motivate, for example, your workers if something's happening, if they do not feel well by executing their work on a specific way, they need to be able to report that as well on a way. Inform to raise awareness, involve in projects as well, motivate, setting goals, challenge them as well to adapt to behavior. Stimulate breaking down barriers, giving opportunities, and make everyday life pleasant. You can work with, how do you call it, with goals they need to achieve. And if they have achieved a goal, they can win, for example, a T-shirt, something that can stimulate and motivate the people and on the work floor to improve health and safety. Results, employer. The results for an employer can be reduced illness-related costs, improved productivity, customer satisfaction as well, less staff turnover, and a better company image. For the employee, better health and vitality, less illness, better management of stress and work pressure, higher motivation to come to work. If you work in a safe, clean, nice environment, it will motivate you a little bit more than to go to an environment where it's dangerous and so on. You have a better commitment of the people working for you, and you will create as well more flexibility. And the funny thing is, I was talking about investments made, but in long term, if you invest $1, €1, it returns easily 2.5 euro dollars because of this results, reduced illness, improved productivity, and so on. So you need to take a look with a wider vision while investing
Nhưng mà thấy đa phần vật liệu này được chọn
in
là
health. You will not see directly, but at the end it will help you. Then how to measure those things? So risk analysis. You need to know some definitions for that. A hazard is a potential source of damage, harm, or adverse effect on a person, the organization, or the environment. So danger in workplace, you have what can be the danger? It can be something, it can be a substance, it can be material, source of energy, it can be a bad condition of equipment, it can be the process, it can be the practice, and it can be the behavior as well. So the danger factor in a workplace. An example of an hazard, you can, if you work a lot with knives, for example, you can injure yourself. Benzene, for example, it can lead to cancer, blood cancer, and so on. And so you have the danger in the workplace, you have the example of the hazard, and you have the example of the damage, behavior of people. So if you're in a macho world, and because in a port environment you still have a lot of macho people, bullying can be can have a bad effect on the person as well. Fear, depression, because people are bullying with you as well. So you need to take that into account. A risk is the probability that a person will suffer harm or adverse health effects from exposures to a hazard. As you have the danger, the contact, and the potential victim. If you have the danger and the contact together, that's the risk a potential victim can harm, and at the end can lead to an incident or an accident as well. So you have the danger, you have the possible contact to the danger, so that's the risk. And if that's happened with a potential victim, then we talk about accidents. Here, an example of an office. It's an exercise normally we are doing whereby the people needs to point out which dangers or which are not the best conditions to work. For example, in the upper left side, you see a lady who is trying to get something from the closet on a wheelchair. Yeah, you know, a wheelchair that can roll away. So it's dangerous to work. You see in the middle a man smoking in the office, for example, as well. A bad thing. Then you see some ergonomic issues, and I will show you. You will be surprised how many dangers or risks there are in that office environment. That's an example to show what can be. Risk analysis, a step-by-step approach. You have risk areas, you have the risk inventory, a risk assessment you need to do, and you need to as well implement or measure the things to be able to implement an action plan as well. So the risk inventory and the risk assessment, that's what we call a risk analysis. Where are the risks for our organizations, the functions, what functions do we perform? Activities are important, what activities, what are our building and places, where do we work, workstations, for example, what are the workstations like, and which work equipment we use in our environment. That's also a very important thing. So nominate and allocate with risk areas. That's the boundary you are going to create. Then include them in a schedule for carrying out risk analysis and prioritize areas as well, where you have, for example, large number of workers. History-wise, you had a lot of incidents on that place, many remarks and complaints from workers, for example, and dangerous machinery as well. So What could go wrong? List all potential risks. And that's a lot of work, I know. The initial danger of a ladder is maybe falling off the ladder. Potential victims you need to describe. Injury or consequences, that you have a broken arm or something other things broken. So that can be the injury or the consequence of that risk of working with ladders. Qualify the risks, the risk factors. You have the danger, you have the contact, and what's the probability that a danger can result in a risk? What's the danger with the potential victim? So the contact. So what's the probability that a potential victim will face danger? And that's what we call risk. The risk factors and examples, people, for example, the people matrix, equipment. So people, training, experience, knowledge of tasks. Equipment is a condition of tools, machines, vehicles, and equipment. Environmental, lighting, temperature, order and cleanliness, noise. Then the product handled. Are you working in an environment whereby hazardous products are used, forms, packings, and so on? And then organization management, the supervision, procedures, instructions, stock management, and so on. These are the risk factors. I will skip this exercise quickly because otherwise I will lose time, and it's quite easy exercise. The Kinney method, that's one thing we use to do the risk analysis, for example. It's methodology used worldwide. It's a uniform technique with standard figures and descriptions. To get a better idea of the situation, and it's a direction of level. Larger, more complex word, yes, and it's using an intermediate figures and over understanding and underestimating or overestimating. Sometimes it's a difficulty to that you have when using the Kinney method. So the things you need to follow and describe the task or activity. Identify hazards, the possible hazards, identify the risks, do uh, risk assessment before you take your risks. I was looking for the word to avoid the risk. Then do the risk assessment with the measures you implemented, and then determine the level of action you need to do to make it better. So you have the risk, the probability, the exposure to danger, and then the gravity or the consequence. So that's the formula. Sometimes the E is taken out of this formula, but that's the way how to do it. Use that standard one. So we will write down the activities. We will try to define the risk. We will try to define the consequence. And then we are going to say, or we are going to add values at the probability and to the effect. And then, this is an automated Excel we created, and I can explain it when you're physically in Antwerp on a more detailed way. And so then we multiply 1 and 5, and the result will be 5, and that's means that's yellow. So yellow means several severe level. So the possibility is there, and then you can say which corrective actions I need to do. Raise awareness of the need for proper scheduling in the of the round. That's now a specific corrective action. And then you need to measure again the probability and the severity of that one, and then you while doing that, the result can be higher or lower. Normally, you need to aim for lower. Huh? So 3, 4, the green ones are good. This is the Kine method we use here in the port of Cotonou. And we will try to define the probability, the consequence, and that's how we get to that green, yellow, orange, and red result. Green is acceptable, yellow possible, orange it's important. And if the result is red, for example, from 15 until 30, and it's unacceptable, so that means that the risk is high, so you need to do something urgently. How are we going to do that? Risk areas to have the risk analysis. Risk areas. Can we eliminate the danger? How can the risk be controlled? Is it possible to check for damages? And that's why we call about the hierarchy of preventive measures. Is by eliminating the danger, controlling the risk, and check for damage. And that's an important one. If you are talking about risks in a work environment, the first thing you need to try to do is to work on elimination, substitution, then engineering controls, then administration, and the personal protective equipment. That's the lowest layer in the triangle. That's one thing you need to do if you cannot eliminate, if you cannot do a substitution of the risk, then you at the end you need to work with PPEs. So, but try to work firstly on eliminate and physically remove the hazard. Substitution, why can't we use something else and replace a hazard, for example? Engineering controls, that means you try to isolate people from the hazard by working in protected areas, for example. Then you can work on administrative controls, change the way people work. And if you cannot say on a proper way, yeah, we need to work in an environment, an incident or a risk is there. For example, people who are working in huge buildings, construction environments, yeah, they need to wear a helmet while working on the site, because you cannot avoid that something's happening, something's falling down or something like that. But you try to work on that by protecting the worker with a helmet. So the primary prevention is elimination, substitution, and then the secondary prevention is work on engineering controls, administrative controls, and work with personal protective equipment. And at the end, yeah, you need to define as well the emergency measures if something happens as well. I can go through that as well if you have more questions about that. These are some examples, but I'm running out of time and I still want to know something, or I still want to say something about cybersecurity as well. So PPEs, the personal protective equipment worn or held by the worker. Objective is to protect the works, but keep in mind that's the lowest level. Against one or more hazards, exception working clothes, for example. Who's responsible? The employee is responsible to buy maintenance and do training structure. Then the mid-level, they will need to do, or your health and safety department will need to do the port control, status check, and so on. And then the worker is responsible to wear the PPEs at the port environment, compliance with the instructions, and to keep it in good condition as well. Headset, for example, against falling objects, shock versus, so you have anti-shock caps as well. So that's the meaning. You have a risk and how to protect with a PPE your employer. Sometimes you need to choose for a anti-shock cap. Sometimes you need to use a headset to protect your people. Why do we need a headset, for example? Falling objects, slides, sharp objects that can fall down. And then the other one, the anti-shock cap, for example, can protect you from chemical products, heats, and it can be anti-static as well if you're working in explosive environments as well. Safety shoes, safety boots. So these are the things you need to choose for which condition I need to work with specific PPEs. So these are just examples. The clothes. For us here now, the uniforms, it's quite a difficult one because we are working in a very heavy environment here in a very warm climate, so a lot of sun, so people are sweating directly while doing the work. So we are now looking for a good fluo vest, but that do not injure the skin because of the heat and the sweating. So it's a little bit difficult here to do that. So the execution of measures as well important. Who, when, where, how do you do it, and do I have budget as well? And then the quality of the risks. You need to assure that your risk analysis is based on good models. You need to learn by doing and training, so it's a continuous process. Excuse me, that is okay. And then planning time and the consuming time as well is need to be done. Okay. Health safety. If you still have questions, you can still have questions during this training, but as well during the physical week. If you have more specific questions on how to implement, how to use it, because I know it's a lot of information in 1 hour time. I will share my presentation after this training, so you can go through it again. You can note down questions, you can mail us, you can use the Canvas platform to do requests and so on. So please feel free if you have more or if you need more information to do that as well. Cyber resilience, why? A very important one. Certainly for my department, ports rely on interconnected systems, including vessel traffic, Internet of Things, sensors used nowadays. So the port environment is getting more and more digitized as well. So that's important to know. The more you use smart devices, the more you use sensors, the more you use informatic systems, the more you get vulnerable for cyber attacks, people who wants to interrupt your organizations, wants to have access to your data, wants to have access to your information. So that's very important to work as well on the security matters in this. It has as well risks. So if you do not protect your environment well, if you do not train your people as well, today they are using as well more and more digital solutions. They are getting more and more intelligent as well to use cybersecurity to interrupt, to have some access to your data, and so on. So the automation of port operations, including cranes, surveillance, vessels, communication systems, create opportunities for cyber criminals to disrupt. What type of cyber threats you have? Phishing and social engineering, and nowadays one of the most important ones, because of the use of internet, the use of applications, the use of platforms whereby you can share information and so on. Ransomware, yeah, mostly ransomware is installed on your computer while clicking on links, installing cracked software and so on. Malware and this is the same thing. It can come to your network, can be injected by malicious software and so on. And on supply chain attacks, vulnerabilities in third-party logistic providers. You are working within a community, you are working with a lot of people within your port environment, and that's why you need to protect yourself and motivate and sensibilize people against cybersecurity. Potential impacts of cybersecurity, it can be operational disruptions, can stop your operations, causing delays, financial losses, downtime, ransom payments you need to do because your data is encrypted, and reputational damage can have long-term financial consequences. APM lost, I think, $360 million by a cyber attack a couple of years ago. The city of Antwerp last year as well had to pay a lot of money. We don't know whether they paid it or not. Politics as well. So financial they can intervene in your systems, taking, for example, a hospital that can cause huge safety risk if people with bad intentions can take over the control of a scanner, the control over data, for example. They can change data, they can change the way how you need to make a medical treatment, or they can change it from one person to another. So it can be very dangerous as well. Another example, and it's a stupid example, but last year a huge casino in America was hacked as well. And they were hacked by the sensors on the aquarium of the hotel. So those hackers went into the IT system via the sensors placed on the windows of that aquarium to measure the pressure of the water. And they accessed the IT system via that sensor and caused a lot of financial damage as well. Security measures you can take, it's network segmentations, isolate dematerialized zones, for example, DMZ zones, isolating critical systems such as navigation systems or cranes, can be very it can use a lot of issues. So you need to isolate very important things. Security audits, it's the same with the safety audits you need to do, whether the system is protected against attacks, whether your health and safety system is running on a good way. So do security audits. Employee training, because of the human errors remains one of the biggest risks. And a funny thing is, in a normal organization, the HR department is the most vulnerable for doing not the correct things while working. And so sensibilize, train people, making them aware what people are doing to try to have access to the system and so on. And then incident response plans. You need to have a plan in place to respond and to recover from cyber incidents. In if you look to health and safety systems, you can as well be complement by UI control. With cybersecurity, it's a little bit more difficult because it's a quite complex thing. So if you want to implement solutions, if you want to control your environment, if you want to create response plans, incident response plans, I suggest to work with third parties who are used to do it. Because if you need to implement that within your organization, you need a bunch of organize that. It's changing. It's a quite complicated work that can help you, a third party that can help you to that security team within your company. It's always needed because they need to work a little bit on the lower level to protect the environment, but they need to have a third party, an external third party to help them. And we had an attack in 2012, long time ago, and attackers are still fighting or attacking our environment to get data from our environment. Cocaine traffic, for example. Maersk in 2017, $360 million. Port of San Diego. So it's not because you're a port environment, you don't have to think that nothing can happen to your environment. Unfortunately, cybersecurity incidents will take place as well in that. By whom? Who is doing terrorists for political, religious reasons? They are attacking specific systems. You have the regular hackers. I call them the challengers. They want to hack, for example, President Biden's office. They want to hack the NASA, for example. So it's more a challenge for them to get into a specific high security environment. Then you have hacktivists, more and more these days, and motivated by ideology. And cyber criminals, they are mostly doing it for money. Than states themselves, America against Russia, for example, to do espionage, to get into the voting, for example, and then internal menace, motivated by a bad boss. So if I'm not happy with the way my management is working, I can make them life difficult by doing bad things internally. So if it can come from internally as well. And so people's. The motivation I do here and the sensibilization of people in themselves, humans are still one of the biggest risks within cybersecurity. So use a strong password, combine uppercase, lowercase numbers, and so on. So use a strong password. Don't use a password or don't use the same password for each site, each access that you need to create. Try to be innovative. And sharing passwords is a bad idea as well. So if you use different passwords, I'm getting older as well, so I need to, how do you call it, recall my password. So I need to remember it. So there are some toolings that you can use to EndPass or LastPass, both available on Windows, iOS, Android, that can help you to protect all the passwords, the list of passwords you have for a specific application. Okay. Then enable two-step verification as well. And most of the platforms, applications, and we are now implementing it as well. So enable two-step verification. That means you must confirm every login attempt with your smartphone or enter an extra code when you try to log in. So it's not only the password, but then, for example, a message can be sent to your iPhone or your Android with a specific code. You need to fill in the code next to your password, and that's a two-step verification. So protect your applications by doing that. Then lock your PC. When leaving the office for a toilet break, for I don't know what, the Windows key plus L and you will lock your computer. We have a funny colleague in the office. If you don't do that, he's sending out a mail of your computer to the management by saying, yeah, Friday evening I will give a drink in that bar in Antwerp, and it's on my pay. So colleagues are sending a mail from your mail account if you don't lock your computer. So sometimes it's funny, but lock your computer. People with bad intentions, if your computer is not locked, can do a lot of harm to the system. They can send a bad mail to the management as well, and so on. So update your devices. So updates, patches, service patches, upgrades, things like that. Please do it. In complicated environments, I always say if you need to do an update, do it firstly on the test environment and afterwards on the production environments, because updates can do see what happened a couple of months ago with the update on the security patch of Microsoft and worldwide. We had a lot of issues with that. So backups made not only in your smartphone, on your computer, in the whole network, data loss via ransomware or malfunction that can cause a lot of financial loss as well. So backup your environment, and you can use cloud environments these days as well to back up your information and so on. Secure your Wi-Fi network. If you have a Wi-Fi network within your company, make for sure you have the private Wi-Fi for your company and the public Wi-Fi that it's separated. That's one thing. And secure it with as well passwords or very strong passwords. If you use a Wi-Fi network, don't give access to everybody. So provide a separate access for your visitors or something like that. Nowadays as well, Wi-Fi, you have a Wi-Fi router. It's connected with your fridge these days. It's connected with your air cool system, your heating system, whatever. So a lot of devices are getting smarter and smarter. So if people with bad intentions can access your network, they can lower down the temperature. They can say, okay, start the washing machine, start the wash dish, and so on. So they can control the temperature of your fridge and so on. So you need to protect your Wi-Fi network as well. Another example is people who have a second place for holiday in a neighboring country or in another state of Vietnam, for example. Often people protect their belongings, their house, their boots on the house, for example. But that's also a way how people get to know that you have a boat or a yacht somewhere. So protect those things as well. Then be careful with your smartphone as well. If you install applications, please do check which access they will have to your data. You can easily turn off, turn on things by implementing applications. So if you install applications, please do check that they don't have access to your contact photos, whatever, on your smartphone device. And as well protects it to your smartphone with a strong biotin important. Separate personal and professional use. If you have a laptop from the company, don't use it for the personal use. So try to make a difference between what am I using as a smart device to do social things and more my personal things, and what do I do with my work device. So important. Nowadays, be as well very aware USB sticks very dangerous because people with bad intention can install small programs on USB sticks. You put the USB stick in your computer, the program will be automatically installed, and the damage is started. So nowadays in the Port of Antwerp, Bruges, devices like hard disks, USB sticks are not allowed anymore, and everything is blocked from our side to avoid that. And then learn to recognize phishing. If you get an email, people are trying to work on the social part of your thing. They promise, for example, that if you click on the link, you will get 10 iPhones, you will get a holiday in the Caribbean Sea with 10,000 of dollars. So people, they are working on people's emotions. In a mail, for example, they can say, if you do not update your password within 5 days, you will lose your account, and so they try to pressure with urgency, importance, actions required. So please be aware. If someone's sending you a mail with urgent things and things like that, identify the risks of that mail. The one who's sending the mail, do you know him? Nowadays, they can really cover their identity by doing it or pretending they are your boss, for example. But if your boss is sending a mail, then you need to ask yourself as well, why is he sending a mail? Is it correct? Would he be sending a mail like that? And so try to think. Um, Is the message too good to be true? Does the email try to put you into an action that tickles you or that work on your curiosity? If there is a link, you can easily hover with your mouse over the link, then check whether the link is correct. If the link is with IP addresses, that means with 12.10.80.112, for example, please be aware that. Look to errors in the mail as well, as sometimes they use or the mail is very strange organized and so on. So try to investigate the mail before clicking. Attachments as well. A stupid PDF file, be aware that can harm your environment. So don't just click, but think before you click. That's the most important message I want to give. When getting messages from, when getting phone calls from, some of those guys, they did it with my poor father. He's 82 years old. They call him on the phone. They say, yes, I'm from your bank and I see some specific things happening on your bank account. Can you please open your computer? I will send you a mail. You need to click on that link and things like that. And before you know, those people are into your bank account and try to block money on your account. So even if a bank is calling, try to have another way to find out whether the caller is really the identity itself. And if you notice something very strange, call Bill Gates, call Elon Musk, call Zuckerberg, they will help you. No. Inform your ICT lockets, inform people when you think something happened, you think something strange, inform people, let them know what's happening or what you think. If you have a strange mail, forward it to your IT department so they can investigate as well. As well, once again, it can harm, but the message needs to be brought by the senior management. They need to say, okay, safety, health, security, quality, environment. The message needs to be spread around by the management as well. Okay, I will stop here with the PowerPoint presentation. There are some slides talking about the ISO 27001. I suggest go through it. If you have some questions, the ISO norms are a tool. It's the same for 9001, 14,001, 27,001, 45,001. They are based on the same structure. So it's a tool to implement health, safety, quality, environment, and security as well within your company. So it's a tool that you can use to help you by implementing a system. So I suggest go through it, read it, and if you have questions, feel free to ask questions. Okay, so thank you for your attention. Do we already have some questions from your side? Please feel free. Yeah? Okay, so far no questions. Now there is one message in the chat. Let me see what's the message. Tuk, 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 tuk.
It was regarding the internet connections.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's not okay. Yeah. If you have
Yeah.
questions about the training, feel free.